بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم نور قلوبنا بالعلم وزين أخلاقنا بالحلم وافتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. Welcome to the All About Zakat for Muslims in the US Part 2. Let me walk you quickly through what we have covered last time. Okay, we talked about the differences, some of the technical differences between Zakat and taxes, and we said that tax could not substitute the Zakat with some technical differences. Zakatable wealth, the personal and the business zakatable wealth, and the non-zakatable wealth already covered. And the zakatability or the conditions for the payer, or the criteria where you have to match to pay zakatul mal, as well as for the wealth itself, and threshold versus poverty line. And we indicated that there are two different standards in which you should not intermingle them together or mix them together. Combining assets to reach nisab. I think this is where we stopped. Am I correct? You still remember? We stopped here? No. Combining assets to reach nisab. If you have different assets that belong to different categories, for example, you have some cattle but they did not reach nisab, as well as some cash money but they did not reach nisab, as well as some agricultural products but they did not reach nisab. The question here, do you have to combine all these different assets together to constitute a nisab? The answer is no. Because every single category has its own criteria, its own threshold and volume and way of calculating zakat. So you do not have to combine different assets. However, only and only if the different assets are belonging to the same category. Someone has gold and silver, has cows and buffalo, has sheep and goat. Well, in this particular case, yes, they have to be combined together because they belong to the same category. Consistency of assessing the threshold. No need for you to make sure that you keep up with the threshold or the minimum amount or the nisab throughout the whole year. As long as you started your zakat calculation accordingly, appropriately, which is to start from the date in which the nisab, the minimum amount of certain wealth, has been accumulated, constituted, then this is the beginning of your hawl. This is the beginning of your hawl. Hawl means the fiscal lunar year, zakah year. Okay, that's the hawl. So throughout the whole year, regardless of the fluctuation of ownership, it doesn't make that difference. You accumulated nisab in Safar the 1st of 1435. Okay? Now in Safar the 1st of 1436, if you still have a nisab and up, then you need to pay zakat money. Practically speaking, especially for business people, it's really hard to keep up with the nisab throughout the whole year. I mean, sometimes you run out of stocks, out of inventory, out of commodities, out of even cash. When you trade, when you buy and you sell, sometimes, I mean, you run out of merchandise you have, you spend the whole cash money that you have, to buy a new commodities. So if you take some snapshots throughout the whole year, there is a high possibility that in a certain time, a certain situation, you might run out of assets. So if this is the case, if you have to stop and start all over, you might not pay zakah forever, because every single year you might go through the same scenario. Salaries and professional fees. I think we already covered it last time. We said do not worry about the flow of income. If you provide a professional service, you work as a CPA, as a medical doctor, as an engineer, as a lawyer, whatever the profession might be, if you receive money on a periodical basis, sometimes even on daily basis, okay? This does not mean that every single payment you receive from your clients has to stay under your possession for one complete year. It means, when we say that حولان الحول, the passage of one lunar year, it means that in the zakat due date, whatever you have available, even if you received a part of this money in the virtual pool of money just a few hours before the zakat due date, whatever you have available is subject to zakat. Now, if you believe otherwise, you're going to end up with having 365 zakat due date, because every single payment has to be tracked, has to be documented, and you need to sleep on it for one complete year, making sure that you still have the money, and then you pay its zakat. And so for the payment that has been received yesterday, it has its own zakat. And for today's payment, the same, which is very close to impossible, practically speaking. So to make it very simple, or as they say, long story short, in the zakat due date, whatever money you have available, received, forget about the receivables, by the way, forget about the payables, okay? Do not include anything. Receivables, whatever you expect to receive from your clients, is not to be included, okay? It doesn't mean that you are not paying zakat on the receivables. You are paying zakat. Whatever is receivable in the zakat due date for this year, inshallah will be received already in the next year. So if you did not pay zakat for this year, you're going to pay zakat on the next year. Payables are the same. If something is not due immediately in the zakat due date, just skip it. Keep it, okay? Because it's not paid yet, okay? Whenever it is paid, it will be deducted. If you keep it for this year, for next year, it's going to be deducted already, because it's already paid. So keep it as simple as possible. Receivables, payables are not to be taken into consideration. Do not include the receivables, and do not exclude the payables. Just keep it as simple as possible. The money that you have in the zakat due date are subject to zakat al-mal. Jewelry and ornaments, we have a long debate between different madhab regarding the zakatability of jewelry. If you follow the conservative approach of Abu Hanif and some of the Hanabil rahimahullah jami'an, that jewelry is subject to zakat, I would say keep up the good job, stay as is. Okay? Do not stop paying zakat al-mal. But if you ask me a question, do I have to pay zakat on the jewelry of my wife or my daughters, or for our sisters, do I have to pay zakat on my jewelry? I would say no, you don't have to. Anything that is labeled or classified as personal belonging is exempted from zakat al-mal. The house that you live in is exempted. The clothes that you wear are exempted. Transportation are exempted. The food that you are storing in your kitchen are exempted. The furniture that you use in your house exempted. The jewelry, in the same logic, the jewelry that our sisters use are exempted. Again, it's a long debate between the madahib, but to the best of my knowledge, jewelry are not zakatable as long as they have been bought for personal use and they are within the average. The average actually differs from era to another, from maybe one society to another. If you live back home in Algeria, or in China, or in Yemen, or in Saudi Arabia, that's way different from the US. Within the US, we have low class, we have middle class, we have high class. So make a comparison, okay, for our sister. Make a comparison between yourself and other sisters who belong to the same, I would say, the same category or the same class. How much they usually have? Up to $15,000, $20,000. If you have up to $20,000, that's zakat exempt. Again, as long as there is no commercial purpose behind buying or owning the jewelry. If you have $100,000 jewelry, I would say the first 20,000 are exempted, because this is the average that other sisters have in the same society. Okay, and the rest are subject to zakah, to stay away from the differences of our scholars. As it is always said, al-khuruj min al-khilafi mustahab. Always stay in the safe side. Again, I'm not here to tell you stop paying zakah on the jewelry. I'm saying that if you ask me, do I have to pay zakat al-mal on the jewelry that I have or my wife have, the answer is no, with two conditions. For personal use, within the average that other sisters have in that society. Retirement funds is a new issue, and that's why if you keep reading in the classical fiqh books, you will not find them straightforward answer to it. And even if you ask people of knowledge who are living here in this society, you will be getting like different answers. I'm not claiming that my answer is the most correct one, but I think Wallah Alam it is the most, I would say, reasonable one. You might ask a sheikh that you trust his knowledge, and the answer will be, forget about your 401k, because it is inaccessible kind of wealth. You do not have an access to it. So just sleep on it until the age of retirement, or Allah forbids, in case of death or disability, whenever you receive the money, then you pay it zakah, or you start paying it zakah. And you ask another sheikh, the answer might be, well, it is zakatable on an annual basis. I mean, you are making money. This is a kind of investment. If the 401k is not zakatable, then what else should be charged zakatable? Now, if you ask me, I would hold the stick from the middle, as they say. And this is the formula that we came up with in our fiqh council. We said that whatever is accessible in the zakat due date, whatever is accessible, or what we call it the withdrawable amount, means that if you decide to withdraw from your 401k in the zakat due date, how much you will be having an access to. 50%, if you apply for a humanitarian case, for example, will the investment company give you an access to 50% or 60%, 70, more or less, whatever the percent might be. If you decide to proceed, you will be charged different kinds of charges. Processing fees, penalty, interest, service fees, whatever they call it. So just do a very theoretical calculation. Go with the withdrawable amount. You don't have to withdraw it. It's just a calculation. Withdrawable amount minus any prescribed penalty, any prescribed tax, and the net actually is the zakatable one. That amount of money has to be added to the virtual pool of money along with other resources that you might have. Okay, you have some exploited assets, you have a salary, you have maybe individual retirement account, or whatever. I mean, the source might be. Put everything together and you pay zakah. Again, there is nothing straightforward in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to answer this question. So what we do is just we apply ijtihad, independent reasoning. I think, wallah alam, our approach is the most reasonable one. You might say, well, if I decide to withdraw, I can withdraw 100% of my 401k. If this is the case, then you have to pay zakah on the 100% of what you have, minus the deductions. The prescribed penalty, tax, service, processing fees, whatever they call it. Stocks, shares, and bonds. To start with, shares and stocks are very similar to one another. Bonds are different. Bonds is a kind of interest-bearing loan. You are lending the federal government a certain amount of money for a certain percent as an interest. So it's not an option for you to start with as a practicing or religious Muslim. When it comes even to stocks, you need to be careful and limit yourself to the stocks that belong to companies in which their core business is a halal one. Their core business is a halal one. Now, do we have a pure halal 100% stocks? The answer is no. I mean, we are dreaming if we say yes. Not only in the US, even if you go, any place in the world. Okay, the capitalist economic system is now dominating everything, and there must be some percentage of haram involved in the stocks. And subhanAllah, the situation that we are experiencing nowadays remind me with the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, يأتي على الناس زمان من لم يأكل الربا أصابه من غباره. A time will come in which if people avoid riba in a way or another, they will be contaminated with riba, either willingly or unwillingly. And subhanAllah, it's the exact case that we are experiencing. There is some percentage of haram contaminating the stock that you hold, even if the core business of that company is a halal one. As I said, bonds are not an option for you. Derivatives are not an option for you. Different kinds of options, CDS, like different securities that they came up with nowadays, or investment instruments in the stock market are not an option for you whatsoever. How to calculate your zakah on the stocks that you have? Now, if you hold the stocks and you are happy with the dividend that you make, meaning that the stocks are not for sale, you are not speculating in the market, buying and selling, then you pay zakah on the dividend only, the profit that you make. Whether you withdraw the dividend or you capitalize it, you just add it to your account and buy more stocks, it doesn't make any difference. If the face value or the market value of the stocks is 100,000 and the profit that you made for that particular year is 10,000, then you pay zakat on the 10,000. Whether you got the cash money or you just capitalize the profit and just put it on top of the original account and bought more stocks, it doesn't make any difference. The zakatable amount is 10,000 an hour in this example. If your intention is to keep like trading, speculating, buying and selling, then everything is zakatable. The market value of the stock as well as the profit that you make. Because in this particular case, the stocks be taken the same status of any merchandise, any asset that is for sale. I mean, the stock is for sale. You always keep watching like Yahoo Finance and the index in the market. You sell whenever the price goes up, you buy whenever the price goes. I mean, it means that you are speculating, buying and selling, on a regular basis. So if that's the case, then you pay zakat on everything you have. In some countries like Saudi Arabia, I'm not sure if they still have the same system or they changed. I left the country a long time ago. They have like a governmental department supervising the collection and the payment of zakat. It's called Da'irat al-Zakat. It's exactly like Da'irat Daribat al-Dakhl or the IRS. So they charge the companies. And instead of charging individuals, whoever is registered with a tax ID number or whatever, whoever is enrolled there will be charged zakat on an annual basis. The point that I want to make here, that if the company pays zakat on all shares, then that particular part of your zakat should not be paid again, because you have been already charged zakat. So if you are a part, or if you are like a shareholder, okay, and whatever you have is just a part of your income, this particular part of income is exempted, not exempted, has been charged already through the company itself. So you don't have to calculate the profit and just add it to the virtual pool of money and pay zakat on it again, because zakat has been charged already. If someone gets involved without knowing that what he is doing is haram, then the profit, not the profit, the interest that has been made or generated out of holding bonds has to be getting rid of completely in full. Inna Allah ta'ala tayyibun la yaqbalu illa tayyiba. But the original capital, the original amount, the $5,000 bond, the original price of the bond, whenever you receive it back, is subject to zakat. But the profit, the haram profit or the interest that has been made on top of that is not subject to zakat. In fact, it has to be getting rid of completely. Even if you pay 2.5% of the interest, it will not purify it. As I said, Inna Allah ta'ala, or as the Prophet ﷺ said, Inna Allah ta'ala tayyibun la yaqbalu illa tayyiba. Zakat on loan, this is on loans. This is one of the categories where the Prophet ﷺ did not specify anything. There is no straightforward hadith in the Sunnah indicates who has to pay zakat al-mal on the loan. And that's why you have a lot of, if you read, you will be like reading a lot of differences and variety of options between the scholars. Even the majami' fiqhiyya, the fiqh councils, are not on the same page. They have different fatwa regarding zakatul dain, the zakatability of loan. To the best of my knowledge, the lender is exempted. The lender, the one who provides the money, the creditor, the one who lends the money or loans the money to other people, is exempt because he does not have an access to the money. If you are the lender, just wait until you receive your money back. Until you receive your money back. If you received your money back, especially that if the borrower is your Muslim brother, he is gonna take his sweet time, inshallah. Maybe after 5 to 10 years, you'll get your money back. So whenever you get your money back, inshallah, if you receive it, you pay it zakat. Now, if the lender is exempted, okay, if the lender is exempted, and the borrower is exempted because the money is not his, according to some people, then who's going to pay zakat al-mal in that amount? Who's going to pay zakat? To my knowledge, the borrower is the one who has to pay. If you say no, then this amount of money is exempt. The lender is not paying, and the borrower is not paying zakat, so nobody is paying zakat. Okay? Now, the lender is exempt because he does not have an access to the money. And we said many times that one of the conditions for the zakatability of the world is al-mulku tam raqabatan wa yadan. You have to own the money, and it has to be under your possession. You are the decision maker, as they say. In this case, once the money is released and given to your Muslim brother, good luck, inshallah. Wait until you receive your money. Now, the borrower himself has to pay zakat. Has to pay zakat in the zakat due date if the loan is not due. Say that you lended $10,000, you gave it to XYZ. Okay. Now, for the borrower himself, in the zakat due date, if he still has the $10,000 under his possession, even if he owes you the money, as long as the loan is not due, then he has to pay zakat al-mal, because at that particular time, he is the owner of the money. Even if he had borrowed the money, like to do a surgery for himself or for his wife, or to pay the tuition fees of his kids, at the end of the day, it's his money. He can change his mind. Even if you gave him $10,000 to do a surgery, what if he changed his mind and just bought a car with it? You cannot stop him. Is that correct? So, once he received the money, it is his money. In the zakat due date, if the borrower is still owning the money under his possession, and the amount or the loan is not due back to you, it has to be paid off to you as a lender, then he has to pay zakat. Now, if he kept the money with him for years and years to come, does he still have to pay zakat on an annual basis? Yes. Once the money is paid off back to you, then you take care of the zakat, because your money is back. Mortgage and car loans and other monthly payments are exempted. Now, regardless of the permissibility of the transaction that you are getting involved in, meaning that if buying a house via conventional mortgage is prohibited, which is the case, if someone is involved in paying for the mortgage company, we cannot punish him twice. Okay, you are committing a sin by dealing with riba, and you will be deprived from deducting the payment from your pool zakat money. No, whatever is deducted is deducted. Whatever deducted is zakat exempt. So if you owe your monthly mortgage payment $1,500, for example, plus $500 for the car, plus $1,000 for the furniture. Okay, in the month of the zakat, you need to deduct, or you do have the right to deduct the $2,500, 15 for the mortgage, 500 for the car, another 500, 1,000, whatever the amount for the whatever is deductible, and it is not included in the zakat. You don't have to pay zakat on it, because that's a loan and it is due. It is due. If it is not due, then it is not deductible. If you owe the mortgage company $200,000, okay, for the next 25 years, you cannot deduct the $200,000 from the zakat money, because again, it's not due yet. Whatever is due is deductible. As simple as that. Determining the value of assets. If you are a business person, okay, you have 3 different ways of determining the value. You can go with the invoice value, which is not fair, because in some cases the market value. Say for example that you have a candy business, okay, just for example, candy business, and according to the invoice value, whatever you have in your store worth $50,000. Just imagine that all the candy that you have get expired. What is the market value of the candy that you have? 0, right? It's expired. You cannot sell it. By law, you cannot sell it. So the invoice value is 50,000, and the market value is 0. That's why it's not fair enough to go with the invoice value. And you cannot go with the retail value, by the way. Retail value is not fair. If the invoice value is 50,000 and the retail value is 75,000, you are expected to make $25,000 profit. Do not pay zakat on the $25,000, because it's not generated yet. You see. So I would say the most fair and just way of calculating the market value is to go with what is called the wholesale market value. Wholesale market value means that if you do not have the candy that you have in your store, or the cars that you have in your lot if you are involved in like a car dealership business, how much you are willing to pay to buy the commodities that you have. If you want to buy them from the wholesaler at that the zakat you did, how much you are willing to pay for it? Is it 50,000? Then the 50,000 is the zakatable amount. 100,000 it is the zakatable amount and all. Agricultural products, I'm going to just touch lightly on it. For those who are involved in farming business, Prophet ﷺ said, لَيْسَ فِي مَا دُونَ خَمْسَةِ أَوْسُقٍ صَدَقَةٍ. This is the threshold or the minimum amount or the minimum volume of harvest or agricultural products that you have to have, which is approximately is 647. Why I'm saying approximately? Because the wasaq actually is a volume. It's not a weight. It's a volume. So if it is cotton, for example, that's different than wheat, that's different than barley, that's different than, you see. So we say roughly, approximately, it's 647 kilograms. Anyway, I don't think we need to get more details about livestock and agricultural products. Let's move to zakat recipients. Those are the 8 different categories that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designated in the Quran. Long debate between different madhab regarding the difference between fuqara and masakeen. At the end of the day, both of them are eligible. Some said that al-faqir is the one who makes money, yet he does not receive what he needs. And the miskin is the one who is running out of resources completely. Some said that al-faqir is the one who is approaching other people, and the miskin is the one who stays home just waiting for people to remember him with their sadaqah. The one who has a self-respect and dignity to the extent that he is not even willing to complain or to ask people for some sadaqah. Regardless who's al-faqir or who's al-miskin, as long as someone does not have what he or she needs, then he is eligible zakat recipient. Even if you make money, even if you make $7,000 per month, and your legitimate expenses are 9,000, then you are still eligible zakat recipient. As long as your expenditures or your expenses are legitimate, then whatever you need, you can claim it from the zakat money. Al-amilin alayha are the zakat workers, those who are involved in zakat, maybe organization or charitable organization. They do have the right to deduct whatever is sufficient for them. Al-mu'allafati qulubuhum, I would say new Muslims, and we need to make sure that they are Muslims. So potential Muslims or those who are still thinking about embracing Islam should not be given from zakat al-mal according to the strongest opinion. Okay, because zakat al-mal is collected from Muslims, so it is fair enough to be paid to Muslims only. Can you pay your sadaqah to non-Muslims? Definitely yes. Is it a rewardable act and devotion? Definitely yes. But sadaqah is different than zakat. We're talking about zakat al-mal, about the sadaqah. So according to the strongest opinion, zakat al-mal is exclusively collected from Muslims and is exclusively given only and only to Muslims. Wallahu a'lam. For riqab, those in bondage, slaves and captives, alhamdulillah, we do not have slavery nowadays. In case of having Muslim captives, they could be freed from the zakat al-mal. Al-gharimin, the debt-ridden. Someone is overwhelmed with a debt, with 3 different conditions. 3 different conditions that he or she can claim from zakat al-mal. Okay, the debtor or the borrower must be in need for the financial aid. I'll give you a practical example. What if I borrowed $10,000, okay, to pay the tuition fees of my kids, my college students, kids, okay, and I make say $8,000 per month, and I spend only $6,000. For a certain reason, I could not afford $10,000, so I just borrowed them. So I can save $2,000 every month. If that is the case, then I cannot claim zakat money because I can take care of myself. I can just save some money for a few months and I will be able to pay off the debt. So the debtor or the borrower must be in need for the financial aid. He does not have to be poor, but he must be unable to pay the debt. If I make $7,000 every month and I spend the $7,000, then it's going to take me forever, to pay off the debt. So I can ask from Zakat al-Mal. And condition number 2, that was incurred because of a lawful expenses. Okay, it has to be like a lawful reason. I borrowed money to pay the rent of my house, to do a surgery for one of my kids, to pay for the tuition fee, something that is halal. And number 3, that is due immediately. If it is not due, then I cannot ask for zakat because the debt is not due. If those 3 different conditions are met, then the debt-ridden is eligible zakat recipient. If one of them is not matched, then he or she cannot ask from zakat al-mal. Fi sabilillah, basically for the legitimate jihad, like military jihad activities. However, we have a fatwa has been issued long time ago, back in 1405, by the Fiqh Council of the Muslim World League, Majma' al-Fiqh al-Islami tabi' li-Rabit al-Alam al-Islami. They said clearly that da'wah activities is an eligible zakah recipient as needed only. Here in the US, can we pay our zakat al-mal? They want you to pay attention to this. Can we pay our zakat al-mal to build a masjid, or Islamic school, Islamic university, or charitable organization, or a human rights organization, established by Muslims for a noble cause, and we trust people in charge? According to this fatwa, under the category fi sabilillah, for the cause of Allah, yes, you can. You can pay your zakat to build the masjid, and to pay the expenses of the masjid, and to maintain the masjid from zakat al-mal. Under the category of fi sabilillah, according to this fatwa, the masjid is an eligible zakat recipient, and you will be catching 2 birds in 1 stone, as they say. It is a fulfillment of zakat al-mal, and it is tax deductible because your masjid is 501c. Is that correct? So you can even benefit by deducting whatever you pay for the masjid from your income tax. Ibn al-Sabil, the wayfarer. Ibn al-Sabil is different than al-Faqir. Al-Faqir is the one who is basically, or al-Miskin is the one who is basically poor. But Ibn al-Sabil could be like very wealthy back home, but he is away from home. He does not have an access to his wealth or his estate. Now, some people that I might know even in person, they are refugees from Iraq and from Syria, from different places in the world, living here in the US. Back home, they are extremely wealthy people, but here they are not. They do not have access to their wealth or to their estate or lands or properties back home. So they are not fuqara. Technically speaking, they are not fuqara, but they are ibn al-sabil. They have been stranded away from their family, their homeland. They do not have an access to their wealth. That's why they deserve to take from zakat al-mal. Now, on the opposite, if we have people who are subject to zakah, or the zakah recipients, we have the non-zakah recipients. Obviously, if someone is rich or wealthy enough, even if someone is not rich, but he is capable to work and just sponsor or support himself, then he should not be given from zakat al-mal. Devotees who refuse to work. If someone is a abid, just a monk, like taking a Quran in the masjid and praying and fasting day and night, he should not be taken from zakat al-mal because he does not benefit anyone but himself. Students of knowledge, they can take from zakat al-mal, and they do not have to pursue degrees in Islamic studies or Sharia, anything, even pharmacy, even physics or chemistry or IT or whatever benefits the Muslim community. That will be fine. They can take from zakat al-mal. Renouncers of Islam. If someone sets himself as an enemy to Islam, even if he is a Muslim, should not be given from zakat al-mal. And unfortunate to say that some Muslims nowadays fall under this category. They cannot take from zakat al-mal because they renounce Islam openly. Obviously, non-Muslims, close dependents. When you want to pay zakat to your relatives, avoid your ascendants and your descendants. Your parents and grandparents and grand-grandparents, are not to be given from zakat al-mal. Your children and grandchildren are not eligible to take from your zakat. Because there is like a mutual sponsorship responsibility between al-usul wal-furu', the ascendants and the descendants. So can you pay your zakat to your offspring? No, you cannot. To your siblings, like your brothers, your sisters, yes, you can. Your uncles, paternal, maternal uncles, your aunts from like your dad's side or your mom's side, yes, you can. Every single person from the family, from your relatives, is eligible zakat recipient, obviously, as long as he is in need for it, as long as you are avoiding your ascendants and your descendants. Al-usulu wal-furu'. Parents, grandparents are not to be taken from zakat al-mal. Children and grandchildren are not to be given from zakat al-mal. When you decide to pay your zakat, you need to consider the following. No maximum amount to be like to give to one recipient. I mean, there is no ceiling here. If you have $10,000, okay, your zakat for this year. Number one, you do not have to cover the 8 different categories, according to Imam Shafi and his school of thought or his madhab, that if you have the 8 categories available, then you have to cover all of them. Well, with all due respect, there is no evidence to support this approach. Even if you choose to pay your money exclusively to the poor people, it's up to you. Okay? Even within this category, if you choose only one individual in which you think that he or she is in need more than other people, can you give the whole $10,000 to only one individual? Yes, you can. As long as you are just and fair enough and make your judgment based on your own discretion and judgment of the situation, it's up to you. So there is no limitation, there is no restriction to as far as covering the 8 different categories, covering one category only, and even one individual from within the same category can be given the whole zakat. Zakat year or hawl starts once you reach the minimum threshold or the nisab. Can you adjust your zakat due date if your zakat due date, for example, in Shaban, okay, and you don't want to pay your zakat on Shaban, you want to just prolong it or reschedule it or shift it to Ramadan, as the vast majority of Muslims are doing nowadays. I mean, for more barakah and multiplication of the reward, that's fine. But when you decide to do so, in that particular year in which you want to shift from Sha'ban to Ramadan, you cannot hold your zakah until Ramadan. You have to pay it in Sha'ban, and you assess the extra amount, okay, all the way from Sha'ban to Ramadan, and you pay it in advance. You pay it in advance for the first year. So next year, your zakah due date will be the beginning of Ramadan. Is that correct? You cannot do otherwise. You cannot just wait until Ramadan comes and then you pay your zakah. As long as it is due, you have to pay it immediately. As long as you have the money and the eligible zakah recipients are there available, then you have no choice but to pay them. However, you can pay extra to change or to shift your zakah due to make it in Ramadan next year. Losing the zakah money out of delay in paying it for no legitimate reason does not waive the zakah payer. If you put your money aside, zakah money, and you keep just procrastinating, inshallah, today and tomorrow and next week and the spring break, and for some reason the money gets stolen, get lost, you are not excused. You have to pay the money one more time because that is your shortcoming. However, if there was no negligence or no carelessness, okay, from your end, and the money get lost, I mean, you put the money aside because there was no eligible zakah recipients to give him the money. There is no delay or intentional delay from your end. For some reason you lost the money, then you are excused. You don't have to pay your zakah one more time. Prepayment of zakah is permissible. You can pay your zakah for the next 2 or 3 or even 10 years. It's up to you. However, every single year you have to make sure that what has been paid before is covering, or at least covering, the zakah of this particular year. I'll give you an example. If my zakah every year is $5,000, and I know for sure that it is 5,000, maybe less, maybe just $100 or $200 more. If I already paid 5,500, okay, 5,500 for the next 3 years. Do I have to calculate my zakah every single year? Well, I'm positive 100% that I already covered my zakah and paid even more than that. Do I need to calculate my zakah? No, I don't need to. I don't need to go through the calculation and just the pain of checking the inventory and how much I have and the market value, because I already paid way more than the due zakah. If I have some doubt, then I need to do my own calculation, make sure that at least I paid the zakah money. Zakah has to be paid in the same value, but does not have to be paid in the same kind of wealth. If you have agricultural products, you don't have to pay your zakah from the harvest that you have. You can just pay it in cash instead of in kind. You can pay it in cash. If you have some jewelry, for example, and you think that paying zakah on jewelry is a must, you don't have to donate zakah or pay zakah from the jewelry. You can just pay cash money. And if you have cattle, okay, livestock, you don't have to pay zakah from the actual cattle you have. You can just pay it cash money and all. Proper intention prior to the payment. You cannot count what has been paid already as a part of your zakah if you did not have proper intention. Say that there was a fundraising for your masjid last month and you paid $5,000. Okay? In the month of Ramadan, you found out that your zakah for this year is 5,000. Can you just backdate your zakah and say, okay, what has been paid for the masjid is my zakah for this year? Will it be counted or not? No, it will not, because when you paid your zakah, you did not have the intention at that time that what I'm paying now is zakah. So the intention comes prior to the ibadah. You cannot pray 4 rak'at and then you make an intention that what I prayed is Salatul Isha. You see? It's the same concept. The niyyah, the intention has to be prepared, okay, before or prior to the ibadah itself. Proper assessment or paying a minimum of the due zakah. As I said, if my zakah is 5,000 plus or minus 1 or 200, and I paid already $6,000, I don't need to calculate my zakah because I'm positive that I already paid my zakah and even way more. Proper recipients. Do some homework. Do your due diligence before you decide to pay zakat al-mal. Do not be emotional. Even if someone approaches you, you need to do some investigation. Find out, collect information, collect data. Find out, is this a charitable organization authentic enough? Do you know the people in charge? We have a lot of charitable organizations in the US. Some of them operate legally, some of them operate illegally. Make sure that you give your money to the right entity, to the right individuals. Authority to accept zakah. Basically, if we have any, then the Muslim government is responsible for this job. And nowadays, it's not the case, obviously. Governments and regimes in the Muslim world, they pay a lot of attention and they do a lot of due diligence to collect the tax money. When it comes to zakat al-mal, you don't have to pay zakah. It's something between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, unfortunately. Trustworthy organizations, if you trust those organizations, you can give them from zakat al-mal. Otherwise, the Muslim community can take care of its zakat. Maybe the imam is in charge, or a zakah committee, or the executive board or committee of the masjid, whomever in charge, who might have more data than what you have, he or she knows the individuals around who need the money. Otherwise, you take care of your zakah, and you assess situation and find who is the most desperate person for the zakah and just give him the zakah. If you want to get involved in zakah business or zakah work, preferably that person should be a Muslim one. It's not a must, but it is more preferred to be a Muslim because Muslims should be more caring about zakah. He or she is expected to be more serious, in taking the zakah issue, because this is one of the pillars of Islam. Obviously, say an adult, trustworthy, efficient, and capable to do the job, does not receive bribes from people. Someone who really God-fearing, and definitely has to report whatever he received from others. Can you pay a conditional zakah? Like you give your zakah to the masjid, I want my zakah for this year, or to any charitable organization, say, okay, I want my zakah for this year to be paid for the refugees in Jordan, okay, then they have to commit to your condition. If they are unable, the Zakat organization, if they are unable to pay your Zakat to the refugees in Jordan, they need to get back to you and take your permission to pay your Zakat somewhere else. If you want your Zakat for the orphans in Somalia, for example, then they have to abide with that and on. Transporting Zakah is not the default rule. The default rule is the locality of the Zakah. It has to be collected, this is the basic rule. It has to be collected from within the community and distributed from within the community. When the Prophet ﷺ sent Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, he instructed him by saying فَعَلِمْهُمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ افترض عَلَيْهِمْ زَكَاةً تُؤْخَذُ مِنْ أَغْنِيَائِهِمْ فَتُرَدُّ فِي فُقَرَائِهِمْ. Tell them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is obligating them to pay zakah that should be collected from their wealthy people and distributed to their needy people. So this is the default rule. However, if there is a reason or legitimate reason for transporting zakah, there's a natural disaster somewhere, there is a civil war somewhere, or people struggling in Iraq and Syria, they could not even find pure water to drink. Can you transport your zakah through some legal channels, to send your zakah overseas? Yes. You have some blood relatives back home whom you think that they need your zakah more than others. Definitely you can transport or wire your zakah, send it overseas. But again, this is the exception and not the default rule. The default rule is the locality of the zakah. It has to stay within, taken from the wealthy people and given back to the needy in that community. This is just a zakah calculation, to help you calculating your zakah. I think I already sent you a copy from the presentation, is that correct?
No, not yet.
Not yet? طيب. As I said last time, that this is not a copyrighted presentation. Inshallah, I'll remember to send it to you. You can put it in the website and send it to your email list. You can get your own copy and send it to whomever you want. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وعلمنا ما علمتنا وزدنا علما وصلى الله على خير خلق محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Yes, sir.